Hey there! You have found the Ask a Gender Therapist video series. This is a video series where I answer your transgender questions from the point of view of a gender therapist. I'm your host, Dara Hoffman Fox. I'm a licensed professional counselor in Colorado, and I'm very happy that you found this video because clearly you have a question on your mind, and my hope is that I can provide you with maybe even a little bit more answers than you had before you watched this video. So the question I'm going to address in this video actually was presented to me by my stepdaughter. Let me explain. We were having dinner a couple weeks ago and I was talking about this YouTube series, just kind of mentioning a few things about what I wanted to use it for. Now, my stepdaughter is very savvy when it comes to YouTube and the different ways that people use it. And she said, you know what you probably need to do is answer the question, what does transgender mean? And I realized I had not made a video yet about that. For instance, she said she will be at school and somehow, I guess I come up in conversation and she mentions that I am a therapist who works with a lot of transgender clients, and if her friends are like, well, what's that? I don't know what that means. She wanted to be able to have a video that she could then refer them to so that they could find out. And so, of course, that made me think, well, there's probably many, many others out there who could use a little bit of explanation about that. So the first thing I want to address about this question is that there is not one definition for transgender. So this is really, really important to keep in mind as you watch this video, because in the end, especially because this is something that is finally being talked about so much now, that there are so many different definitions and every person as an individual has their own definition of what it means to them. So don't worry, I can still go ahead and give a few examples of what this means so that maybe you can find your answer. First of all, there is the Transgender Umbrella. So picture an umbrella, and it says transgender on it, and underneath it are many different identities. Think about it how the word trans means across, and so therefore it means across gender. So it means going across what gender really is usually defined as. You know, it's man or woman. So transgender means across the genders. And so underneath the transgender umbrella, you can have those who are male to female, female to male. You can have non-binary. You can have agender, two-spirit, drag queen, drag kings, all sorts of different definitions under that. Okay, so the next definition of transgender that we're going to talk about is transsexual. Now, this is a word that for a lot of people has fallen out of favor because it is something that can be very medical based or psychiatric based, and because it has the word sexual in it, it can be very confusing as to what it means. But it is true that a lot of people do still use the word transsexual because they want to make sure that when it comes to defining themselves, that people understand that the level of discomfort that they feel with their assigned gender at birth and their true gender is so distressing that they need to be able to use medical means to transition. So that would mean using hormone therapy, or having surgeries. So again, there's always this isn't 100%. There's, sometimes someone's going to use the word transsexual in a example that doesn't necessarily mean this, but I'm talking in general that this is what transsexual means. Okay, I have two more definitions to give you. The next one has to do with identity, saying that somebody is transgender, or is a transgender woman, or is a transgender man. There are people who feel very comfortable in putting transgender as a part of their identity. Another example, transgender musician, transgender author, things like that, where somebody wants that to be a part of their identity. And so that's another way that somebody might use the word transgender as a way to define themselves. They put it out there as a part of who they are. The fourth definition I will give you for transgender is purely as a medical condition. I have spoken with a lot of people, and I have had several clients who only want to use the word transgender when it comes to their medical needs. So for instance, if somebody is going to be starting hormone therapy and or will be having surgery, then they know that the word transgender has to be used at some point so that either the surgeon or the physicians know this is why they are getting this kind of treatment. But other than that, they do not want the word transgender ever appearing in their life. They don't want to be known as a transgender woman or transgender man. They want to be known as a woman and or as a man, and not have the word transgender associated with themselves besides on, let's say, their medical records. So when it comes to the definition of transgender, I did want to look up and see what is it that is out there as the definition. So I was pretty disturbed when I looked up the definition of transgender. For instance, on the Merriam-Webster website, it was not accurate, and I then moved over to dictionary.com, and it was even worse over there. So what I've decided to do is I am going to read to you word for word the definition of transgender as put out there by award-winning author and blogger Matt Cayley, who did pass away earlier this year, but he has an amazing website called tranifesto.com, and here's what he defines as transgender. And not surprisingly, he actually breaks it up into 3 different definitions. Okay, the first one says, transgender refers to a person whose gender identity and physical body are not in alignment or do not agree either all or part of the time. This is a narrow definition, and more so than I prefer, but many people prefer a broader definition. The second one, transgender refers to a person who transgresses the gender norms of Western culture's binary gender system, either all or part of the time, and either intentionally or unintentionally. While everyone transgresses gender norms at some time or another, this definition generally encompasses those people who are viewed negatively or who are discriminated against because of their gender identity or gender presentation. And his third definition is, transgender encompasses both definitions above and also includes transsexual people or those who have made changes to their physical body to bring the body into alignment with their gender identity. So I would say that my definition of transgender hits pretty closely to what Matt was talking about. I've worked for quite a few years with a lot of clients who are transgender, as well as making connections with literally hundreds of people who are transgender on the internet since I've started these videos and started my education website. And for the most part, the simplest way I can explain it is, if you are comfortable with using the word transgender for yourself, find your own way to use that. Make sure that's something that you decide that you want to use as part of your identity or as a way to identify yourself. And don't do it just because somebody else tells you you should. Okay, so to wrap this up, I wanted to put this question out there to you. Why does it matter to know what the definition of transgender is, whether it's for yourself or if it's somebody that you know is telling you that they are transgender? A couple of things I want to mention. First of all, what this usually means is that somebody has heard the word transgender and then they hear a little bit about what it means. Maybe they've watched a video, maybe they've met somebody in person, or they heard a news story and something about that connected with them. Maybe it's the first time they've ever heard it, or maybe it's just the right time in their life where they finally hear it and they say to themselves, that sounds kind of like me, and they want to explore it further. So knowing that if somebody comes to you in your life, or if this is you, and this is going on with you, it's really important that you honor that and take some time to explore the truth of that. The next thing I want to mention is that make sure you have patience. Have patience with yourself if you are trying to figure out if you are transgender, And if someone in your life is transgender, have patience with them as they try to figure that out, and also have patience with each other as you're both trying to navigate this. I also want to make sure that you get support, and that means, again, if you are transgender or if somebody you know is transgender, make sure you get support as you move forward in figuring what this means to you and your life. And the last bit I want to mention is that if you are wondering if you're transgender, or if somebody in your life is wondering about this, or if they tell you that they are transgender, the most important thing you can do is believe it. And what I mean by that is, if this does not go away and you keep wondering about this and you keep exploring it and thinking about it, it's okay to know that on some level you are not comfortable with that assigned gender at birth, or the person in your life who is telling you that they're transgender are not comfortable with that. Whatever that means, that's still something to be decided, but make sure you believe this if it is something that's not going away. Well, hopefully you were able to get some insight into your question. I also made a different video that is called How Do I Know If I'm Transgender? That might be a nice little extra piece that you want to add to this to watch that. I'll be sure to put the link in the notes for this video, and it's also probably pretty handy if you go ahead and subscribe to this video series when you click the subscribe button underneath this video, because then you'll definitely get updates as to when I put new videos out there. So if you have a question that you would like for me to consider for the Ask a Gender Therapist series, the best way for me to receive that is for you to go to my website and fill out the contact form and send it to me. So that's at darahoffmanfox.com/contact. I do have a lot of people that have been putting their questions in the comments for YouTube, and although there's nothing wrong with that, I will admit that it's a little more difficult for me to organize and manage and keep track of those questions, and some of them definitely fall between the cracks. And so by all means, if you can, go ahead and fill out that contact form instead. But definitely put comments on these videos. If you have anything that you want to say about what you've learned in this, if you feel like there's anything I've left out, if you want to share your experience, read the comments and see who else maybe has left comments, and see if you can even make a new connection with somebody. I've seen that happen on quite a few of these videos, and I think it's pretty awesome.